After decades of marriage, there were occasional minor quarrels, but under our careful nurture, a son and a daughter led a fairly stable and comfortable life. Through years of my supervision, my son successfully entered an ideal university with a bright future ahead. My daughter was the apple of my and my wife's eye, and I cherished her, spoiling her endlessly. However, a car accident just before I turned 50 forced me to face a truth I had never imagined. During the blood test, I was shocked to discover that both my daughter's and son's blood types did not match mine. This stirred an unease that had long lurked within me. The two children's personalities and appearances had always hinted at something, so I asked the doctor for a paternity test, and the result hit me like a thunderbolt. The children I had painstakingly raised for 20 years were not biologically mine. Blazing with fury, I ignored my yet unhealed leg injury from the accident and confronted my wife, only to stumble upon her and her lover in the new house I had bought for my son, engaged in an affair. The scene enraged me beyond reason. Despite my still injured legs, I charged at them furiously, yet she showed not a shred of guilt, acting as if nothing had happened. My wife sneered, saying that I was lucky to have been allowed to stay by the children's side all these years. Facing my roar and demand for divorce, she dismissed it with contempt, insisting that she would never let this become a disgrace between our families. As the quarrel grew more intense, my wife and her lover pushed me off the 26th floor. The two children watched, showing no fear, instead helping to cover up the scene. Only as life slipped away did I realize the children had known the truth all along. But heaven showed mercy. I was reborn back to the year I was 35, with my newborn daughter in my arms. Seeing my family's joyful faces around me, I snapped back to reality. I had been given another chance. The crying of the child in my arms pulled me back to my thoughts. Only then did I realize I was in the hospital. He asked, "What are you standing there for? Hurry and give the child a name." "Oh, this little girl is so fair and tender. Nothing like your dark, scrawny self when you were little," my mother urged me from the side. Hearing her voice again, my nose stung, and I couldn't help calling out, "Mom." My mother smiled and lightly patted me, her eyes full of relief. "You silly boy, now you have a daughter. Go on, be happy." Relatives and friends around also offered their blessings. Only then did I notice that in the room were not only my parents, my elder brother and sister-in-law, but also my wife's parents. Taking a moment, I held the baby in my arms, complex emotions surging within me. In my memory, it was this very day in my past life that my daughter was born. Although we had waited long for this child, what now surged in me was nothing but endless hatred. I had once thought she would be my comfort in old age, but instead she brought such heartless betrayal. The feeling of loss still lingered. I recalled my wife's cold and ruthless face from my previous life, and her lover's arrogant smirk. Rage burned relentlessly in my heart. Looking at the daughter in my arms, my gaze turned icy. Calmly, I said to my mother, "Mom, it's nothing. Let's go see little Ruyan." Stepping into the hospital room, my wife's youthful face came into view. She was 5 years younger than me, just 30 now. I had provided her with fine clothes and food, giving her a life of comfort and leisure. She stirred, trying to sit up. My mother quickly stepped forward to soothe her. "Don't move. Take care. You've just given birth, you need to be careful with your body." My mother's kindness reminded me of the past. How cold my wife had been toward my mother, chilling me to the bone. I composed myself, gently pulled my mother aside, and placed the baby beside my wife. When she saw my expression, she forced a faint smile. "Have you given the child a name?" "No. You do it," I replied coldly. Knowing well how little she had read, I had once racked my brains to come up with a good name. Now none of that mattered anymore. Seeing me like this, my mother was a bit bewildered. I had been so overjoyed at the child's arrival before. Why was I so silent now? She quickly said, "No rush. We can think of a name later. Let little Ruyan rest first." Someone nearby chimed in, "Yes, let Ruyan recover a bit first." I didn't say more, just watched as my family left after visiting my daughter. I turned to look at her. She seemed to have something to say, but I didn't respond. After staying in the hospital for a night, I arranged for her discharge. She was full of doubt. "Leaving so soon? My body hasn't fully recovered yet. Can't we stay a few more days?" I glanced back at her indifferently. "Other women go home the very day they give birth. Why are you so delicate? This isn't your first time giving birth, what's the big deal?" She looked at me, about to lose her temper, just as my mother walked in holding the baby, saying gently, "Darling, don't be difficult. Little Ruyan, feed the baby." She took the child. Reluctantly but not arguing further. Seeing me packing my things, my mother asked why I was in such a hurry to leave the hospital. It's much more convenient at home. My mother thought for a moment and nodded. Yes, going home is better. How about this? Mom will go back and tidy up. When Ruyan is in confinement, Mom will come over to take care of her. My wife's eyes seemed to brighten with a glimmer of hope. After all, having someone care for her was always good. But recalling my past life, when my mother had taken meticulous care of her during confinement, she had shown no gratitude. When my mother fell ill in bed, she hadn't even been willing to attend to her and had strongly opposed paying medical fees. Just thinking about it made me resistant. Mom, don't trouble yourself. You should enjoy your leisure now. I'll handle these things. I firmly waved my hand. You need to look after brother and sister-in-law too. I'll take care of things at home, so you and Dad can rest easy at home. Go have fun. Stop worrying about these household chores. But she wanted to say something more. I cut her off. Mom, listen to me. Save yourself the trouble. Though my mother found my attitude strange, she didn't say more. After all, she knew how stubborn I could be. Under my persuasion, she finally left for now. My wife's face was full of resentment. Gee Boda, what do you mean? First you won't let me stay in the hospital, and now you won't even let your mother come to help with the postpartum care. Are you going to abandon me and our daughter? She was emotional, tears welling up, but I just looked back expressionlessly. Is it my mother's job to take care of you after childbirth? Don't you have your own mother? After all, I've never even met her. My words hit her like a bullet, leaving her speechless. Back when I first met her, she was curled up on the street with nothing. Out of pity, I took her to the hospital. She said her parents had abused her and were about to sell her off to an old man in the mountains as a wife, so she ran away. After marriage, she never contacted her family. My words made her eyes redden. Gee Boda, you're going too far. Over the years, I had poured all my heart into her, out of sympathy for her past and her resilience. But in the end, she repaid me with betrayal and hurt. This hatred was beyond words. So I calmly looked away. Pack up when you're done. I'll wait for you in the car. I grabbed my luggage and left the ward without looking back. At that moment, I understood, though women need care most when they're vulnerable. I would never soften my heart again. She gave birth to another man's child. Why should I bear the burden? This time, I'll make them reap what they sow. Back home, I tossed my stuff aside, left a quick "I have things to do," and hurried out. She called after me, but I turned a deaf ear. She thought I would dote on her like in the past life? Dream on. Out of the house, I took out my phone and called my mother, asking her to bring my son over. Of course, she was essential to our family reunion. Downstairs in the neighborhood, I was playing chess with a few old men. My mother came with the child. As soon as the boy saw me, he lit up with excitement and hopped toward home, kicking a pebble along the way. My mother pulled me aside. Son, what's going on with Zairuyan? Did you two have a fight? She just gave birth, her body is delicate. Don't argue with her. I let out a long sigh. Mom, don't worry, we didn't fight. I know what I'm doing. From now on, don't watch the kids for her, and don't go over to help. Just say you're busy. Don't give her or those two children any money, you and Dad. My mother's expression turned serious. What happened? Did Zairuyan? Mom, don't ask. Just know that Zairuyan has wronged me. I was helpless and didn't want to burden her with worry. My mother's eyes went wide. She actually did that? I'll go find her. I quickly stopped her. Mom, don't get worked up. Without proof, if you go, she won't admit it anyway. Just stay out of it, I have my own plans. You and Dad take it easy. Don't stir up more trouble. My mother nodded solemnly. Mom understands. I won't interfere. Handle it carefully yourself. If you're unsure, come talk to us. Got it. You go back now. After seeing my mother off, I walked into a small restaurant in the neighborhood and ordered a meal. While eating, I inquired about Lu Ruyan's lover. In the past life, he always looked familiar, but I could never recall who he was. Now I finally realized that man was actually her distant cousin. Back when he came to the city for work, he even ate at our house. Thinking back, they must have been having a blast. Was I that stupid? Back home, the baby's cries and the boy's loud TV sounds filled the air. My wife lay weakly in bed. When she saw me come in, my son quickly turned off the TV, looking guilty. You're back? I grunted in reply. She reluctantly walked to the desk, rummaging through her backpack as if to do homework. What are you doing? I asked sideways. Homework, she answered. If you don't want to do it, just watch TV. She stared at me in disbelief, then a flash of unexpected joy appeared. Really? I nodded. She jumped up in delight. Yes, Dad, you're so enlightened. As soon as the words left her mouth, she realized her mistake and quickly glanced at me. My previous strictness had left her terrified. After all, last time she misbehaved at school, I dragged her home and gave her a serious lesson. That finally made her settle down, and her grades started improving. In the past life, it was this very method that got her into a good university. Otherwise, she would have been branded a useless social parasite. Yet my harshness toward her was probably one of the reasons she hated me. Otherwise, why would she help cover up the truth after my death? When did she find out she wasn't my biological child? How long had she resented me? I had no idea. Now that I knew the truth, why should I continue to fulfill a father's duty and raise this child? I let her watch TV and planned to go to my room to change clothes. Then head out to have a drink with an old friend I hadn't seen in a while. As soon as I entered the room, the baby's cries surrounded me like a rising tide. Hearing me come back, my wife glanced over. Have you eaten? Where did you eat? Don't you know there are people at home waiting for you? Can't you see the baby is starving? Gee Boda, do you still want this family? Do you still want me and the kids? Watching her face full of accusation, a strange flicker of pleasure passed through me. The baby is crying, can't you breastfeed? You're the mother, yet you blame me instead of feeding her? What, do you expect me to breastfeed her? Her voice was pitiful and trembling. I want to feed her, but I have no milk. We agreed you'd buy the milk powder. Ever since the children were born, when have I ever had a proper meal? And you expect me to have milk? You have no conscience. She got emotional, tears becoming her words. Seeing her like this, I felt no sympathy, only a vengeful pleasure. In my past life, the harm they caused me was just beginning. You're hungry, make it yourself. Why must everything wait for me? Am I your hired help? The kids aren't just my responsibility. Not to mention, many women go back to work after giving birth. Weren't you raised in the countryside? Why are you so delicate now? Yes, I pampered you. From now on, fix your own food. I don't have time to argue. After speaking, I changed clothes to go out. I saw my son in the living room, walked over, and patted his head. Be good and watch TV. I'm stepping out. He panicked and followed me. Where are you going? You can't leave. Gee Boda, you bastard. Come back. I didn't look back. I felt the bank card in my pocket and headed straight to the bank. I had given her all my money before. She wanted whatever, and I never questioned it. But now I was taking everything back. She and those 2 kids wouldn't get a single cent. After opening a new account at the bank and transferring all the money, I drove to find my brothers. They all teased me when they saw me. Man, where have you been all these years? Popping out of nowhere? Were you bewitched before? Now you understand? Dahue patted my shoulder. Nothing bad happened, right? If you're in trouble, just say it. We've got your back. I raised my glass and clinked with his. Really, nothing. Let's not bring up the past. If there's a gathering from now on, definitely call me. Xiao Yu cut in. Not checking in with the wife at home? I was clear-headed, a sneer on my lips. What's a wife worth? Brothers are the best. Come on, to friendship. Haven't gathered in a while. We had a few drinks, and the words started flowing. I felt happy. They hadn't changed, still the same friends from back then. Thinking about how I cut ties because my wife disapproved, I even felt a bit of regret. If she loved me, how could she leave me isolated? Thinking of her and that so-called lover, anger flared in my chest again. So I said to my friends, guys, I need to ask you a favor. Keep an eye on someone for me. When I got home, I was slightly tipsy. My son and daughter were already fast asleep. Just as I was about to enter the bathroom, the door suddenly swung open from inside. My wife glared, her brows furrowed. Back so late, reeking of alcohol. Were you drinking again? I tilted my head, speaking casually. Can't you tell? Her eyes instantly reddened. Gee Boda. I just gave birth. I haven't even finished my confinement, and you go out drinking, abandoning us 3? Are you even the same person? Is this how we're going to live? I laughed coldly inside. No matter how good I was to her before, she still treated me like a fool. I just went out for a couple of drinks to relieve stress. You have to criticize everything. Can't you mind your own business and leave me alone? My wife looked incredulous, her voice trembling. Gee Boda. I waved my hand impatiently. What are you yelling about? It's late, can people sleep? She fumed. You know it's midnight, and you just got back. No food made, fridge empty. How am I supposed to live? Are you even human? If the fridge is empty, go buy groceries yourself. Besides, the way you talk, you don't sound hungry at all. Before I finished, I thought I saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but she quickly resumed her accusations. Do I have to starve until I can't even talk to you? And what about your mother? She promised to take care of me. Now I beg her to cook, and she makes excuses. Are you all ganging up on me? They have their own stuff to do. Why bother them when you can handle it yourself? Besides, she's old. You expect her to take care of you? If you feel bullied by my family, then solve your own problems. If you can't take it, take the kids and leave. Who's stopping you? My wife's face went pale. Gee Boda, what do you mean? Do you want a divorce? Do you not want me and the kids? I shrugged. You said that, not me. Seeing my firm stance, she relented a bit. Fine. I won't force you. I don't know what I did wrong for you to treat me like this. But the baby just arrived. As a father, you should have some sense of responsibility. It's been 3 days, and you haven't even named the child. You've ignored us. Are you even a father? I'm not pushing you. But registering the household is important. Hurry up and give the child a name. We'll handle the paperwork tomorrow. I was taken aback. Why did she suddenly bring up the household registration? But she said she had to go back to work tomorrow and would do it after she finished her tasks in a few days. Forget it, I'm going to sleep. Seeing she wanted to say more, I walked around her and went straight into the room. At dawn, I got up and prepared for work. Last night, she spent the whole night soothing the baby. Now she was fast asleep in bed. I thought about waking my son for school, but then I thought, he's not mine anyway. What's it to me? So I calmly got ready and left the house alone. After always rushing to the office after dropping my son off at school without time for breakfast, now I leisurely enjoy breakfast on the street. Taking my time, with plenty of time to spare. Eating my fill makes me more motivated at work. I feel relaxed and happy all day. A text from a friend on my phone makes me sneer coldly. It turns out that man she called her cousin is actually Lu Ruyan's old flame. They went to Haicheng together. As for why she later chose me, I haven't figured out yet, but I believe the truth will surface one day. After work, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I went out to dinner with colleagues. There was plenty of drinking and karaoke. My colleagues were puzzled that I, the devoted family man, had suddenly changed. I just smiled calmly and said I had plenty of time lately. We didn't part ways until 10 at night. I staggered home and saw my son reluctantly doing homework, while my wife was changing my daughter's diaper. On the table were leftover food and cold soup, clearly not saved for me. Only waiting for me to clean up. I glanced at it, ignored it, and wobbled into the room to rest. Seeing me like this, my wife gritted her teeth in anger. She quickly finished changing the diaper, set the child on the sofa, and stormed into the room. Jabota, what is wrong with you? Why didn't you take our son to school this morning? She questioned harshly. I pretended to be confused and said innocently, what are you talking about? I don't understand. She furrowed her brows, indignant. Can't I have some peace? What's the big deal if he misses a day of school? Besides, our son doesn't like studying anyway. What's wrong with a day off? You're always acting like a nagging wife. Where's your old gentleness? Are you really my wife? Why don't you show me any consideration? I raised my voice. Don't I get tired working every day? Is it easy to support this family? Didn't I always take the kids to school before? You can't do it just once? But I'm in confinement, I can't go out and catch a chill. You're in confinement, not on your deathbed. Can't she take the bus to school herself? Why does it have to be me? Do I have to take her for the rest of her life? My firm tone left her speechless, since I had always been gentle and considerate. Treating her like this was rare. Seeing her stunned, I said coldly, get out. Don't disturb my rest. I have to work tomorrow. With that, I pushed her out and slammed the door shut. The daughter on the sofa was scared by the noise and burst into tears. She hurried over to comfort the child. After calming down, she tried to come back to the room to argue, but found I had locked the door. When I didn't answer, she yelled, have you lost your mind? Were you just shouting at me? Open the door. Let's talk it out clearly. She kicked the door, her voice impatient. Maybe because her body hadn't recovered, the noise soon stopped. I was just about to fall asleep when she finally found the key and opened the door. But she showed no sign of softening. It seemed she planned to give me the cold shoulder. I sneered inwardly. I had no feelings for her now. No matter what tricks she played, I wouldn't soften. The next morning, I went to work as usual. I saw that my cheap son was already awake. As she was about to leave, she followed behind. I don't have time to take you today. You take the bus yourself. You're old enough to go to school by yourself from now on. I told her directly. Instead of being upset, she beamed. That's great. Seeing her reaction, I couldn't be bothered to ask more and went straight to work. When I got home from work, I brought two men in, carrying tools. My wife immediately frowned. What's this for? I pretended to be casual. They're here to install surveillance cameras. When I'm at work, I worry about accidents at home. With cameras, I'll feel at ease. My wife looked uneasy. Why install cameras for no reason? Isn't it common now to have cameras at home? What, do you disagree? How could she dare say no? That would be admitting guilt. What opinion could I have? If you want to install them, go ahead. Then hurry up and cook a few dishes. These two brothers are eating here too. Go on. Witness what? Before she could finish, I turned and started chatting with the camera installers. With strangers around, even though she wanted to lose her temper, she had to save face and busied herself with cooking. There wasn't much good food at home. She probably had some money left, so she ordered a lot of takeout. I remained silent, for future household expenses. As long as they stayed here, they shouldn't expect a single cent from me. After the cameras were installed, I lounged on the sofa, legs crossed, smoking, with no intention of tidying up the house or washing dishes. She started ordering me, go wash the dishes. I sneered and shot back, is washing dishes a man's job? I work hard all day, and I have to come home and be a beast of burden? Have some sense, will you? As soon as I said that, her face darkened instantly. I had never talked back to her like this before. Although she wanted to rage, after a moment's hesitation, she actually spoke softly, coaxing, "Honey, can we stop fighting? If I did something wrong, I'm willing to apologize. Don't be like this. I've been really miserable lately." As she spoke, she started crying. The child watched us cautiously from the side, too scared to come close, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. Seeing her weepy face, my heart remained unmoved. Enough. Crying all day long, you'll eventually cry this family apart. She wiped her tears, looking dejected. Hire a postpartum nanny to take care of me. I hear many families do that. If your mom can't come help, then hire a postpartum caregiver. I really can't take it anymore. I feel terrible. Her tone was full of helplessness and coaxing, but I was completely unmoved. She had never reflected on herself all these years. If even one of the two children were mine, I wouldn't be this furious and disappointed. But at this point, I absolutely refused to take another step back. Since she chose to have that child, she must face the consequences. A postpartum caregiver? What makes you think you're so precious? Do you think my money grows on trees? Huh? But I really can't move around easily. You don't know how much pain I endured just to do chores. Can't you show me a little sympathy? If I sympathize with you, who will sympathize with me? Every woman gets through it like this. Only you think you're so delicate, wanting a postpartum caregiver. If you have the money, hire one yourself. I don't have any. With that, I left the couch and went back to the bedroom. I used to truly care about her. When our child was born, the whole family revolved around her during her postpartum confinement. We provided her with good food and drink. Changing diapers and feeding the baby were all my mom's and my responsibilities. I did all the housework, no heavy labor for her. She was treated like a princess. But what about her? She showed no gratitude at all. At the slightest disagreement, she would pick on my mom, and sometimes she'd give me attitude. If anything displeased her, she'd throw a fit. She'd say I didn't love her, that she regretted having my child. Back then, I'd grovel like a lapdog to please her. In the end, she still pushed me off the balcony. Thinking of this, my heart turned cold as ice, and I became even more resolute. After my warning, my wife stopped bringing up hiring a postpartum caregiver. Maybe she secretly tried to find one. But with no money, she had to drop it. She didn't dare ask where my money went. After all, it was all hard-earned savings of mine. If she asked, she'd only get a scolding from me. So, poor and sick, she endured her postpartum confinement on her own. She also had to take care of the child. In just half a month, she lost a lot of weight. Though I saw it, I pretended nothing was wrong. I still went to work every day, and in my free time, I played around with friends day and night, not coming home until late. Once inside, I just went straight to bed, completely ignoring her presence. Ever since I installed surveillance cameras at home, she didn't dare let her lover deliver things anymore. Within a few days, the food in the house was almost gone. Luckily, some relatives came to visit her, so she didn't go hungry. Life was no longer as comfortable as before. That night, I was woken up by the baby's cries. I turned to look at my deeply sleeping wife, her face full of exhaustion. Without hesitation, I slapped her awake. "Can't you hear the baby crying so loudly? You just sleep all day long, just like a pig. Get up and check on him. I have to go to work tomorrow, don't I?" She got up with a bewildered look. This is your child too. Why don't you take care of him? I sneered inwardly. My child? Bullshit. Go check on him? You might as well just ask me to breastfeed him. Remember, this is your child too. Are you just going to ignore him? Her questioning annoyed me. What do you want me to do? I work hard every day to earn money. Isn't that enough? She refused to back down. Earn money? Then where's the money? I haven't seen a single cent. I lent it all to my brother who was in urgent need. She stared at me in shock. Lack of sleep made her look very haggard. You need to go get that money back right now. Her demand made my anger flare. Are you crazy? It's the middle of the night. He's my brother. What's wrong with lending him some money? I said, picking up my pillow to go sleep elsewhere. Where are you going? I answered impatiently. Too noisy. I'll sleep in the next room. I'll come back when there's a night without crying. She shouted from behind, but I was unmoved. I locked myself in another room. Slept soundly. The next day, just as dawn broke, I was about to leave. She sat on the sofa looking haggard. Obviously, she hadn't slept all night. She said, let's talk. I frowned. There's nothing to talk about. I'm going to work. She suddenly came over and hugged me. Honey, how did you become like this? Weren't we fine before? I pushed her away in disgust. People change, don't they? Look at yourself now. Who would like such a frumpy housewife? Actually, I had wanted to say it earlier. But I didn't have the heart to when she was pregnant. After pregnancy, she became like this, gained a lot of weight, with rolls of belly fat. I find it disgusting. Why don't you reflect on yourself? Don't block my way. I'm going to work. A flash of shock and helplessness crossed her eyes. She said softly, darling, I know I was wrong. I'll tidy myself up. Just don't treat me like this anymore. My heart really hurts. I ignored her, grabbed my keys, and strode away. As I walked out the door, I sneered. Can't take it? Who could? A wife who was always doted on suddenly facing coldness, who could bear it? She must be baffled. Before she went into the delivery room, I was so nervous. How did I change so much after she gave birth? Sure enough, as soon as I left, she called that man. When she came here, even her phone card was registered under my ID. Now I've hired someone to tap my own number. That's not illegal. A man's voice I would never forget came through the phone. I clenched my fists. Hey, baby, what's up? The man asked lazily, his voice tinged with panic. I'm telling you, Boda has been acting really strange lately, like a different person. He ignores me and the kids, and he even installed surveillance cameras at home. Do you think he knows something? The man casually reassured her. How could that be? It's been so long. If he were going to find out, he would have long ago. There's no way he'd just learn now, especially with how secretive our meetings are. All traces have been cleaned up. How could he discover anything? His behavior now is really eerie, not like before. He muttered as if talking to himself. Have you checked whether he's seeing someone else? Or maybe he doesn't want the daughter? He's always wanted a daughter. But now he won't even name her. And he keeps talking about wanting both a son and a daughter. He dismissed that possibility outright. He used to be honest. No way he's seeing someone else. The man was silent for a moment, then finally spoke. This is strange. Did you do something to offend him? No, the wife said, panicked. Her voice trembled with obvious anxiety. Come on, isn't it just that he's treating you poorly? Just bear with it. After all, our son is growing up, school costs money, and raising our daughter costs money too. Don't make a fuss with him. Once our daughter gets her household registration and our son is old enough to move, no one will know about our past. We'll start over. The man grew angry. Are you crazy? Leave? Where do you think you can go in the information age? Don't forget I went through hell to hide here. If we leave now and get caught, what then? I've worked so hard to settle down. I can't just throw it all away. Just bear it. When our daughter's a bit older, we'll take care of that sucker. Then all the property will be ours, and once the kids grow up, we can enjoy life. You're being stubborn. But, enough, there are no buts. If you damn woman, mess things up for me, don't think I won't tell Boda to deal with you. Don't make me get rough. I didn't. I sneered inwardly. Want me to raise their kids for them? Dream on. I see. The kids crying. Gotta go. Hearing their conversation, my mind churned. So these two really do have a dirty secret. What is this escape they keep talking about? They've been after the kids' household registration all along, fantasizing that I'd raise their children and then they'd leech off them. What a foolish delusion. That night I came home, and my wife approached me. She told me earnestly that she had thought of a name for our daughter. Ji Chui. Hearing that tacky name, I thought to myself, perhaps the person who picked it isn't very educated. And doesn't care much for this child. In my past life, if it weren't for me being the sucker, whether this child could have a comfortable life would have been a question. You hear that? Tomorrow, go register the child's household. The birth certificate and everything, I put it on the table. I nodded and replied, got it. No sooner had I said that than the phone rang. It was my son's homeroom teacher. I answered and put it on speaker. Both my wife and son could hear. Hello, Teacher Zhao. Calling so late, what's the matter? The teacher's tone was not good. Hearing the name Teacher Zhao, my son immediately held his breath. Xiao Qing's father, sorry to disturb you so late, but there are some things I need to discuss with you. I glanced at my son. He lowered his head, clearly guilty, unable to meet my eyes. Recently, Xiao Qing's performance in school hasn't been good. He's failed to turn in homework 5 times, and he's distracted in class. All his subject teachers report his grades are dropping. I wanted to ask if something at home is affecting him. My son started to panic. Normally at this point, after hanging up with the teacher, I'd explode in anger. But this time, I still smiled and said to the teacher, no, everything at home is fine. Maybe the kid is under too much academic pressure. It's understandable to miss homework occasionally. Hearing that I wasn't blaming the child, the teacher said, come to the school tomorrow. I think it's necessary to have an in-depth discussion about Xiao Qing's issues. The teacher hung up. I sat there silently, full of admiration. This teacher is truly meticulous, like carefully polishing a piece of jade, not letting any flaw go unnoticed. I thought to myself, later, after I've dealt with the matters at hand, if I ever have a child, I'd definitely send them to study under this teacher. With that thought, I turned my gaze to my wife sitting nearby. Her head lowered, not daring to meet my eyes, her guilt evident. She was the first to explode. He strode over to him, mercilessly yanked his ear, his voice filled with anger and disappointment. How could you be like this? Why aren't you doing your homework? I hurried over when I saw this. I pulled my son aside, trying to defuse the tension. Come on, it's just missing a few assignments. Nothing major will come of it. Don't scare him like that. Xiao Qing, go to your room now. A flicker of gratitude passed through my son's eyes as he looked up and gave me a thumbs up. My dad's right, it's not a big deal. Then he stuck his tongue out at his wife and ran cheerfully toward his room. Oh, this kid. Get back here. My wife was clearly unhappy with my attitude. She said she'd handle it. Of course, I had no intention of arguing with her. How could I tell her that I planned to ruin her son? Then you must go to school tomorrow and give him a good scolding. Make him realize he's wrong. Faced with her demand, I neither agreed nor refused. This kid's personality was really giving me a headache. He probably took after that father he'd never met. No matter how much effort I put in, the child still didn't improve. The next morning, I personally took my son to school. The teacher's expression soured when she saw me. She said, Father Qing, do you know the situation with your Xiao Qing? No other kid in the class is like him. He doesn't do homework, doesn't listen in class, and disrupts the other students. As a parent, you need to discipline him properly, or he'll be a problem in the future. My son stood in front of the teacher, looking defiant. The teacher sighed helplessly, saying that he wasn't even at the rebellious age yet. How? My son heard the teacher ask and answered matter-of-factly. What else can you do when you don't do homework? Every day I have to do problems I don't understand. It's so annoying. The teacher was furious at my son's reply. She quickly turned to me, saying, look at your son like this. I immediately stepped in to calm the teacher down. Teacher Zhao, please calm down. Xiao Qing is just a bit naughty. He's not cut out for studying. We don't expect him to be great in the future. If he doesn't want to do homework, just let him be. It's no big deal. The teacher seemed even more exasperated with my attitude. She looked at me and said, since you, as the parent, put it that way, then I can't do anything about it. From now on, let him do as he pleases. I smiled and replied, oh well, that's fine too. As long as the kid doesn't get into trouble. Just let him do his thing, right, Xiao Qing? My son looked at me proudly, his eyes full of admiration. My dad is right. Seeing this, the teacher shook her head helplessly and hurried away. Before she left, I stared at my son. Behave at school and don't cause trouble, or I won't be able to protect you either. My son answered confidently. Don't worry, Dad. What could happen to me? I didn't confirm or deny his answer, didn't bother with him anymore, and left school to go straight to the company. I thought to myself that I'd find a chance to apologize to Teacher Zhao later. After work, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I canceled all the various classes my son had been signed up for. Those expenses had been earned with my own blood and sweat. By the time I got home, it was already 10 at night. I'd eaten out. I didn't care at all whether they had eaten or not. My wife saw me come in and immediately asked, "What did the teacher say today?" What else could she say? The same old stuff. Just take care of the kid and don't worry about so much. I answered calmly. She clearly couldn't let go of her worries about our son. Despite that, she was helpless. Hearing my offhand reply, her anger flared. "What do you mean, don't bother? My son told me everything. You went to school and not only didn't apologize, you told the teacher to leave him alone. You made him all cocky. Is that okay? What kind of fathering method is that?" Hearing that, I got angry too. I really don't need you to teach me how to be a good father. Isn't living about being happy? I misunderstood before, forcing the kid to do things he doesn't like. I've seen the light now, haven't I? Didn't you say he's happy? What's more important than happiness, right, son? My son heard this and immediately looked up from the TV. My dad is right, Mom. Just stop nagging all day long. It's so annoying. Seeing the dissatisfaction and helplessness on my son's face, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Yes, that's it. Be ambitious like your dad. Keep it up. My wife was furious and about to speak, but I cut her off. Your son is much more sensible than you. To reward you, Dad has cancelled all your tutoring classes and interest classes. We're never going to suffer through that again. My son was so happy he jumped off the sofa. Really? I really never have to go again? Of course, when has your dad ever lied to you? That's great. Yeah, but my wife's face soured even more. Chungboda, what exactly are you trying to do? Our son was already behind others. If you cancel his tutoring classes, he'll fall even further behind. And in today's society, without a specialty, how do you expect him to survive? I sneered inwardly. She sure had her calculations. I pulled my son close. Why so much talk? I don't expect him to become an official in the future. What's the use of good grades? Besides, plenty of people without much education live well enough. Look at yourself, you barely studied at all. Now I live just fine. That's different. Fine, how is it different? Come on, son, what do you think? I think Dad is right. With the interest classes dropped, there's plenty of time. Don't stay cooped up at home all day, go out and make some friends. After saying that, I didn't wait for my wife to speak. I went straight into the bathroom to wash my hands. After washing, I returned to the room and stopped arguing with her. The cheap son was always a troublemaker. Without my discipline, he was practically running wild. Not only did he love causing trouble at school and talking back to the teacher, but he also openly confronted them in class. He even led his little friends to bully classmates and collected protection money at school. When the teacher told me these things, I couldn't believe it. This was something a 9-year-old kid could do. But thinking about his biological parents, I suddenly understood. Every time the teacher reported problems with the child, I acted indifferent, didn't scold him when I got home, and said everyone has their own nature. Knowing I supported him, the son became even more audacious and started fighting at school. When the teacher brought the beaten student and their parents to our home, my wife immediately wanted to teach him a lesson. I came home from work and saw the cheap son kneeling on the ground, while the teacher sitting nearby and the student wrapped in bandages. Along with their parents all looked unhappy. When I returned, they immediately stood up. You're back. My wife was holding our daughter with a sour expression. The son looked at me as if I were his savior, practically writing "Dad save me" on his face. What's going on? Why are you kneeling on the ground? I asked, looking at my son. My wife was about to speak, but the teacher cut in. You must be Jiching's father, right? Here's the thing, Jiching hit a classmate at school today. That kid even had to go to the hospital for a few stitches. We just came to ask if you two usually don't discipline Jiching much. Otherwise, how could the child be like this? As soon as the teacher finished speaking, the classmate's parent couldn't hold back. Dragging their child forward, they said, "How do you raise your kid? Look at my son's face, all beaten up by your son. There's such a big wound on his head, who knows if it will leave a scar." My wife clearly hadn't dealt with this kind of situation before. She looked at me in panic. I replied calmly, "My son doesn't hit people for no reason. Did your kid provoke my son first? Otherwise, he wouldn't have just lashed out." The other parent immediately lost their temper. As if I were shamelessly making excuses for my child, they grabbed their son's hand and said, "My son is usually very well behaved. How could he provoke your kid? Son, tell me exactly what happened. Jiqing was bullying a female classmate. She was crying, but he wouldn't let go. I just said a few words because I couldn't stand it, and he hit me. The child's voice was filled with grievance. After hearing that, the parent was furious. Did you hear that? Look at what your child has done. I remained calm, but Jiqing stood up and retorted, you're lying. You were the one bullying the female classmate first. I couldn't stand it, so I hit you. The little boy was hopping mad. You're the one talking nonsense. You were the one bullying Lily. Liar. I glanced at my son, a glint of cunning flashing in his eyes. I sighed inwardly, so young and already this slick. But I couldn't call him out now. I just shook my head helplessly. Making a female classmate cry? And hitting someone? Really not a good kid. I sat down casually and said, Teacher, my son says he was acting out of justice. Shouldn't he be praised instead of being accused of hitting someone? If he really helped a female classmate, that's a good thing. The teacher looked a bit troubled. That parent was furious. Nonsense. Your son hit him on purpose. Now you're using a lie to get out of it. You can't avoid responsibility. Apologize to my son immediately. Otherwise, this isn't over. My wife gently tugged at me after hearing that. I pulled my hand away indifferently. What cover up? Maybe your son hurt mine too, we just haven't found out yet. If there's going to be an apology, it should be mutual. Although I'm usually busy with work and the kids are my wife's responsibility. I know my son, he's not that kind of person. The other side was indignant and wouldn't let it go. Finally, the teacher acted as a mediator. Jiqing's parents, Xiaopeng, is indeed seriously injured. Many classmates saw Jiqing hit him. But both sides are at fault. How about mutual apologies? As for Xiaopeng's injuries, the other parent cut in, I don't want money, just an apology. Jiqing stubbornly stuck out his neck. I won't apologize. I did nothing wrong. My wife, afraid they would go back on it and cause trouble, slapped her son on the head. Apologize now. I looked up at my son and said, Son, if you're wrong, admit it. If you're not wrong, then tough luck. Be good. The son pouted and reluctantly said sorry. The other side saw the apology and didn't push further. As they picked up their bag and dragged their child away, they couldn't help but sneer. With you spoiling your kid like this, he'll amount to nothing. Just wait and see. I immediately put on a furious expression. What did you say? My son is just fine. You should be worried about your own child. We haven't even waited for your apology yet. My wife quickly grabbed me. Forget it, what if they keep pressing for money? Besides, his son was injured pretty badly too. Hearing this, I stopped and remained expressionless. The real reason I made our son apologize was to avoid them demanding compensation. If that happened, this night would have dragged on endlessly. After the matter was resolved, my wife visibly relaxed. That was a close call. How could you say those things in front of her? Even if our son wasn't in the wrong, saying that will leave a bad impression on the teacher. I sneered inwardly, so she was putting on an act. I actually thought she believed our son was at fault. But really, she was just afraid of trouble, afraid the teacher would be displeased. Afraid of what? My son did nothing wrong. If they got hurt by him, they only have themselves to blame. Their lack of skill just shows how capable our son is. Isn't that right, son? That may be true, but... Our son, who was rubbing his knee on the sofa, was spotted by my wife. She hurried over to rub it for him, but completely ignored the daughter beside him. Our son impatiently dodged her. Dad is right. You're nothing like him, you're not good to me at all. I hate you. Our son complained as he limped back to his room. She glanced at me, helplessly followed, but could only call out from outside the door, Son. Son, don't be angry. Mom believes you. Mom knows you're the best and the strongest. I just worry she'll come after you for revenge. Listen to Mom, okay? Mom knows you're a good kid, and hitting her wasn't entirely wrong. But you really can't do that in front of the teacher. Son, Mom admits she was wrong for making you kneel. Okay? Mom won't do that again. Even if you beat her to death, Mom won't blame you. Come out. His impatient voice came from the room. Go away. So annoying. She stood there at a loss. She shot me a pleading look, but I couldn't be bothered with her. I went into the bathroom to wash up. After finishing, I went straight to the bedroom to sleep. Ever since I stood up for my son that time, he had been out of control at school. Every few days, I got calls from the school asking for a parent. Either I made excuses that I was too busy, or I went and insisted my son was not at fault. The teachers and students at school all feared us father and son. When they threatened to expel him, I fired back. It's your responsibility if you can't teach the kids well. If you dare expel him, I'll report you to the Education Bureau. The school couldn't do anything and ultimately didn't dare expel him. But every homeroom teacher warned the students not to interact with our son, or they would tell their parents. So our son, finding no fun at school, started skipping class to play outside. Every time the teacher called me, I fobbed it off to my wife. She was miserable and exhausted over it, until a month after my wife finished her postpartum confinement. Our son caused big trouble again. This time, together with kids from another school, he beat up a child. That child ended up in the hospital. The reason? He couldn't come up with money to buy them toys. When my wife found out, she rushed to the hospital with our daughter. I also left the office to get there. I saw the police and the other family in the ward. My wife's legs nearly gave out. This time our son is finished, she thought despairingly. In her mind, if the police were involved, then it must be serious. After the police finished questioning us according to procedure, my wife learned what our son had done. She slapped him. Meanwhile, I stood by silently. If I intervened now, it would only stir up more trouble. After the police mediated and left, my wife collapsed on the floor like a deflated balloon. The other parents were in similar shape. But those parents still had some lines they wouldn't cross. In the end, everyone agreed to pay 10,000 yuan each to cover the child's medical expenses and compensation. My wife nodded eagerly in agreement. When the topic of money came up, she turned her gaze to me. I took a step back and smiled helplessly. Why look at me? I don't have the money. My wife frowned, a little angry. Even if you don't have it, you have to get it. This is your son. Don't drag this out, everyone is watching. But I made no effort to hide my helplessness and played it to the fullest. Let them watch. I really have no money. Besides, my son isn't wrong. Why should I pay? If they want to arrest my son, let the police come. Come on, son, Dad will take you to play games. Ignoring everyone blocking me, I took my son and left right away. My wife chased after me, shouting, "You're being unreasonable. Unreasonable. Come back." I didn't respond and kept walking. My wife was eventually stopped by someone who would let him leave without paying. After we left the hospital, my son asked quietly, "Dad, you really don't blame me?" I laughed heartily, turned back, and patted his shoulder. "Blame you for what? You did beautifully. If someone doesn't listen, you beat them up. You're my son. No matter what, I'm proud of you. You really are my son." Hearing this, my son beamed. "See? Mom is not half as good as you, Dad. She always hits me and then pretends to be pitiful." I pulled out an old smartphone and handed it to him. His eyes lit up instantly. "Is this a smartphone? For me?" "Yes, it's for you. You can watch movies, chat on QQ, and play games." He became ecstatic. "Really? I can play games? Wow, Dad, is this really for me?" "Of course. But don't let your mom know, or she'll take it away." "Don't worry, I'll never let her find out." He eagerly started playing with the phone and quickly registered an account for a game and logged in. I laughed inwardly at this greedy, despicable pair. Enjoy the fruits of my victory, just as I brought my cheap son home. Soon after, his wife came back carrying their daughter, looking exhausted. When she saw me on the sofa, her face darkened with rage. "Boda, are you even a man? How could you leave me and our daughter behind and just walk away? Do you have any idea how scared I was?" As soon as she finished, I replied casually, "Didn't you make it back?" She put the child down and then grabbed a throw pillow and hurled it at me. "Make it back? Do you know how I got back? I had to beg them on my knees just to get them to let our son go." "And where were you, the husband?" I gave a faint smile. "I was afraid they'd hurt our son. So I hurried to take her away. I care about our son too." "Boda, you've changed. You were never like this before. Before, you were so strict with our son. Look at him now, letting him run wild. How can he ever amount to anything this way?" "I don't expect him to amount to anything anymore. As long as he's happy. No, he has to succeed. He has to go to college, become an official, a doctor, a lawyer." "How is this doing him good or harming him?" I narrowed my eyes. "Back then, you always defended him, saying it was for his own good. Now that I'm doing what you did, it's harming him? Saying I've changed? Sun Ming, you're the one who changed." Remembering the past life. When he got into a fight with a classmate, I forced him to go apologize at the kid's house. But his wife thought it was just kids messing around and told me not to be so tense. That I should be more lenient with our own son. Later, this cheap adopted son started dating early in middle school, and I caught him. I made him kneel on the balcony all night, telling him he needed to focus on what mattered at his age. But his mother secretly let him back into the room. and told me not to make a big deal out of it, saying a lot of kids stayed early. In high school, he got obsessed with gaming. He often skipped class to go to internet cafes. I'd catch him and drag him back to school every few days, but his wife would always jump in and say, "My son is stressed, there's no harm in relaxing, don't push him too hard." Finally, under my coercion, he started studying seriously. I worked during the day and tutored him at night. Eventually, his college entrance exam scores were good, and he got into a decent university, but he was completely cold toward me. Maybe by then he already knew I wasn't his real father. He only contacted me when he needed money. Looking back on that life, I became even more convinced that my current approach wasn't wrong. Since he's destined to be a waste in society, why not let him be eliminated early? Seeing that my conversation with my wife yielded nothing, she stormed straight into our son's room. Seeing him lazily playing on his phone, she grabbed it in a rage and smashed it on the floor. She had never recovered properly from her postpartum period, and the anger nearly made her faint. The son jumped up immediately. Seeing his new phone destroyed, he shouted furiously, "Are you crazy?" He usually acted tough in front of others and had never been treated like this. How could he tolerate a challenge to his dignity? What kind of attitude is that? "I'm your mother." "So what if you're my mother? You can just smash my phone?" So annoying. "Give me back my phone." The hot-headed youth shoved her while shouting and crying. His wife was livid. She grabbed a hanger nearby and hit him. "Phone, phone. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused? Why can't you just listen and study hard? All you do is play. Do you want to end up a good-for-nothing? How could I have given birth to a son like you?" She hit him as she spoke, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. The son slammed the door shut with a bang, crying and shouting, "Get out. I don't need you as my mother. I don't have a mother like you." His wife was shoved and fell to the floor, sitting dazed for a while. She tried to stand up but let out a soft groan. The daughter lying on the sofa had already started crying loudly. She had been crying since his wife scolded their son. I just watched the farce coldly. When his wife staggered out, I didn't help her up. Instead, I tossed out, "I'm going to work tomorrow. Going to bed now. Don't bother me if it's nothing." His wife stood there blankly as I walked into the room. Then came her sobs. I felt no pity in my heart, only the satisfaction of revenge. For a woman, this kind of retaliation is undoubtedly a pit of despair. Some might think I'm cruel. But if it were someone else, being deceived and betrayed by their spouse for 23 years, raising a child that wasn't their own, and then having them join forces to push you into the abyss, who wouldn't break down and fight back? I'm no exception. In fact, I'm even more ruthless than others. They wanted happiness and perfection? Then I'll make sure their family is destroyed and they come to no good end. His wife cried all night. The next morning, her eyes were swollen like 2 walnuts. I pretended not to notice and was about to leave for work when she blocked me. "I need to talk to you." I frowned slightly. "What is it?" "I want to send the children to your mom's place. That way I can go out and work too." "Are you crazy? She's not even 4 months old, how can you bear it? Besides, my mom isn't in good health. She only moved to my eldest brother's house last month. If you're not going to take care of her, at least don't dump the kid on her. Don't you have any filial piety at all?" Hearing this, she was stunned. She hadn't expected my mom to be living at my eldest brother's. In truth, I had guessed she would want to send the child to my mom, and my mom would be soft-hearted. So I contacted my eldest brother in advance and had my parents moved there. Not long after the daughter was born, my dad was diagnosed with an illness. After being reborn this time, I took them for checkups and kept it under control. My sister-in-law took good care of him. Having my parents there gave me peace of mind. But if I don't go to work, we really have no money left. You don't bring any money home either. I've been covering the diapers and daily expenses for the child. I can't keep this up anymore. Go to work? The kids are so young, who's going to take care of them? Are you sure about that? If something happens, don't come crying to me. Just stay home. Hearing this, she looked helpless and defeated. "I'm staying at home, you have to give me money, right? Where's the money? Where has your money gone these past few months? The company hasn't paid wages these months. Isn't the salary card with you? You can check it yourself." Actually, I changed the card long ago. Even if he checks, he won't see anything. He believed it and could only force a bitter smile. "Then what do we do? Are we supposed to stop living? I can't be bothered. How they live is their problem. I won't give him money, partly because I don't want to spend any more on them. And partly because I want to see when he'll beg his lover for help. That way, the lover will show up." My friend investigated for a long time. That man is very slippery, good at hiding. Apart from occasional whoring and gambling, he's practically vanished. But my friend targeted one of his acquaintances from the casino, set a trap, and waited for him to fall in. But this guy doesn't seem short of money. He never shows up, which finally made me realize how much money my wife has secretly transferred to him over the years. After what I said, he also knew he couldn't go out to work, so he had to stay home and take care of the kids. I still didn't bring any money home. I came back drunk, muttering about being broke. Another month passed like this. My wife was finally at the end of her rope. The two of them confided in each other on WeChat. She saw him playing on his phone and called him. The man's attitude was still pretty good, calling her sweetheart and honey the whole time. When he heard that I didn't even ask about my mother, he finally couldn't hold back and started cursing me out. Boda is a waste. If it weren't for my money, he wouldn't even get to raise my kids. My wife quickly said, "Alright, don't bring up the past. What do we do now? He hasn't brought money home. The three of us, me and the kids, can't make it. Boda shouldn't be like this. You're not messing with me again, are you?" "Messing with you? I can barely afford to eat. Do you even have a conscience? If it weren't for the home security camera, I'd wish you could see this. The miserable state me and the kids are in. What's so bad about it? Still better than being a spineless loser like Boda. What's the use of reading so many books? In the end, you're still just a wage earner. Too bad you insisted he study hard. I don't want to see my son live that kind of boring life." But now Boda has finally wised up. My wife sighed. Maybe she felt no one understood her. "Forget it, let's not talk about our son for now. He's still young. We'll talk later. First, transfer me some money. I need to buy diapers for our daughter." "What? You're asking me for money? Where would I have any money to give you?" My wife got anxious. "What about the money I gave you before? Did you throw it all into the casino again? Didn't we agree? That money was for important things, so we could have a better life. Why don't you ever listen?" "Enough, how dare you lecture me? I just played around. Are you trying to force me and the kids to death? We can only rely on you now. Figure something out. Over the years, I've given you over 100,000. You said that money was for the kids." Itingching nodded impatiently. Fine. I'll figure something out and transfer you 5,000. You also need to keep an eye on Boda. How could that guy have no money? You're not slipping up and he's pretending not to notice, are you?" "No." Listening to them hang up unhappily, I was seething. My wife had secretly transferred more than 100,000 to Itingching over the years. Very well. Everyone who took from me will have to spit it all back out. I immediately notified my friend. The fish had finally taken the bait. Itingching said he'd find a way to pull some money. What else could he do besides gamble? The next day, our arranged people indeed spotted Itingching at the casino. According to plan, someone mentioned that a nearby gambling spot had been winning big lately. Itingching got interested. He immediately asked someone to take him there. That guy had taken our money, so he was naturally willing to help. That night, Itingching won 10,000 and went home cheerfully. The next day, he went to the casino again. This time he won 3,000. He looked normal. On the third night, he lost 50,000. He started borrowing money everywhere, but no one was willing to lend to a gambler like him. So my friend stepped in and told him he could try private loans. Itingching didn't hesitate and went to borrow from a loan shark. After this step succeeded, I just had to wait for him to keep borrowing until he couldn't pay it back. After my wife got the money, she didn't forget to keep asking me for more. I was extremely annoyed. "Salary hasn't been paid. You're so good at collecting debts. Why don't you go to the company and get my wages back?" How could it not be paid? It was always on time before. The situation is different now. The company is struggling. Besides, who isn't having a hard time in this society? Then go ask our friends for the money we lent out. The household is about to go broke. I thought for a moment. They said they'd pay back in 3 years with interest. How could I need that money now? All the money we used before was borrowed from relatives and friends. Why don't you go ask your relatives and friends for some? What relatives or friends do I have? Don't you have a cousin living nearby? Go ask him. Him? He's broke. How would you know without asking? By the way, how much do you have left? This month's car payment and utilities are due. I really can't come up with it. My wife stared at me in shock. Boda, how dare you ask me for money? I crossed my legs. So what? If you have the nerve to ask me, why can't I ask you? Besides, haven't I given you plenty before? Don't we have an emergency fund? There's about 150,000 in that passbook, right? Since times are so tough, just hand the passbook over to me. I'll withdraw the money tomorrow, so you don't have to keep asking me for cash. I really don't have any left. No. My wife suddenly got emotional. Why not? That money is set aside for emergencies. We can't touch it now. As soon as I heard that, I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Ever since we got married, I'd set aside part of my salary every month, giving it to her to save, as a safety net for the family, but now I finally understood. That money had probably been secretly sent to her lover every month instead of being saved at all. I studied her nervous expression and thought, why not catch her in the act? So I pressed on. We're at this point now, that money needs to be used. Hurry up and bring me the passbook. I stared straight at her. Her panic became even more obvious. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Let me transfer you $3,000 first to use for now. That money, I'll withdraw it in a few days. You don't know the password anyway. She quickly pulled out her phone and transferred the money to me. Once the money arrived, I didn't say much more. I just reminded her to withdraw the money as soon as possible. The moment I closed my door, she rushed panic-stricken to the balcony to make a phone call. The person on the other end answered anxiously. What is it? Hurry up, my phone's about to. We're screwed. She asked about that money and told me to withdraw it within a few days. Where am I supposed to find that much money? He stammered. Panicked? Just say the passbook is lost. No. Then he'd definitely check at the bank and find there's no money in it. He'd call the police. At the mention of the police, the person on the other end lost their nerve too. After all, they'd been hiding for years, terrified of being caught. Then stall him for a few days. I'll think of something. The other party scratched their head. Hurry up, or we're both finished. All right, I get it. My wife hung up and quickly glanced toward my room, thinking I didn't know, but I had already figured everything out. Since my rebirth, when I found the passbook empty, my heart went cold, but I quickly guessed where the money had gone. So I hadn't been bringing any money home, just waiting for her panic when she needed cash, to force them to pay me back. I contacted a friend to secretly investigate Tingching and arranged for him to take out a high-interest loan. As for how he'd repay it, that was none of my business. The next day, I tested her again about the money. She said she needed to make an appointment at the bank, so she'd go in a few days. I didn't press further and closed the door. A week later, she handed me a stack of cash. Withdrawn? Yes, all $156,000 in cash. Fine, I'll keep this money for now. No one uses cash anywhere these days. I'll deposit it into my card tomorrow and give it back to you. She nodded slightly without a word. One day, I rented a car and drove it home. She saw it and immediately asked, "Where's the money?" "What money?" I pretended to be confused. "You mean the emergency fund? I already spent it to trade in for a new car." "What?" She was so furious her eyes rolled back and she nearly fainted. I shrugged carelessly. Hey. It was time to change the car anyway. An Audi's different, loved the look of it at first sight, so I bought it on the spot. "Gee Boda, you're crazy. Have you lost your mind?" She was frantic. I shrugged. What's with all the yelling? The car was bound to be replaced sooner or later. Doing it now is actually a better deal. As we argued, our daughter's cries came from the bedroom. At midnight, my wife rushed the baby to the hospital. Newborns are always delicate and prone to illness, especially since my wife hadn't been able to recover properly during her postpartum month, leaving her with insufficient milk supply. She sat helplessly on the bench, sobbing, while I dozed off beside her. Until the doctor pushed open the door. She rushed up anxiously, worry written all over her face. Doctor, how is my daughter?" The doctor spoke in a cold tone, devoid of any emotion. "Acute pneumonia with persistent high fever. How have you parents been caring for your child? The condition is severe, she must be hospitalized for treatment. If delayed, the consequences would be unimaginable." My wife looked as if struck by lightning, collapsing to the floor. Then she begged the doctor. No, I beg you, save my child. She can't be harmed." The doctor kept a stern face. "Fine, we'll do our best. Go pay the fee now." My wife forced herself to stand up, wiped her tears, and turned to me. "Jabota, go pay the medical bills quickly. I'll go see the child." I waved my hand dismissively. "Go ahead, I'll go see our daughter." My wife, burning with rage, lunged at me, trying to grab hold of me. I took a step back and replied calmly, "She's your daughter too. Are you just going to let her die of illness?" She screamed hysterically, "I'll go pay. Where am I supposed to get the money? Didn't I give you all the money from yesterday? What kind of person are you?" Curious glances surrounded us. Her cries were sharp and piercing, but I didn't care about the gossip. I answered coldly, the money's gone. I bought a new car. There's none left. Figure it out yourself. If you can't, then let her die. It doesn't matter. Even if she grows up, she won't amount to anything. With that, I strode out of the hospital, feeling an unprecedented sense of relief. I went home and had a good, satisfying nap. After I left, she had no choice but to call Itingching again. Out of money again? The voice on the other end was impatient. Lu Ruyan, do you really take me for a fool? Are you spending my money on Jabota? She hurriedly defended herself, no. It's our daughter, she's really sick. The doctor said she's in danger. Itingching said absent-mindedly, probably just some trick. Our daughter is fine, how could something happen to her? Come see for yourself, she's still in the hospital. After a moment of silence, Itingching's tone turned contemptuous. It's just a girl. If she dies, she dies. It's like rain falling or a mother remarrying, nothing to worry about. My wife's pent-up anger exploded instantly. How can you say that? She's our daughter. She interrupted with a cold laugh. I don't have the money. Desperate, my wife softened her voice and begged, please, just save her. This is the last time. Riding on the leftover thrill from the gambling table, Itingching's words were laced with hidden venom. Fine, last time. Don't ask me again after this. The light turned green, and I floored the gas pedal. The scene blurred past in a roar. Just as I thought, they always find a way out, don't they? A week later, my daughter was finally discharged from the hospital. I had been completely absent during that time. She came home carrying the child. I was absorbed in scrolling on my phone on the sofa while my son was shouting and playing video games beside me. Cigarette butts and sunflower seed shells littered the floor. The place was a complete mess. I vaguely remembered that I used to take care of everything, tending to them meticulously. I would even carefully pick them up and bring them home. But now, as soon as she stepped inside, her fury erupted like a volcano long suppressed. Jabota, let's get a divorce. I slowly looked up at her and continued scrolling on my phone. What the hell is wrong with you? Go make dinner. My son chimed in, Dad, ignore her. What's all this fuss about? Divorce? I said I want a divorce. She shouted and threw everything in her hands to the ground. Faced with this unexpected outburst, I responded with pure sarcasm. All over these trivial matters? Boring. If you want a divorce, then fine. But you won't get any of the kids or the money. She pursed her lips, and her hesitation and reluctance were obvious, but she silently picked up the scattered items and said nothing. I watched her coldly. Divorce? I'm not done having fun yet. Even though that day had passed, I remained the same. I came home even later than before. I even started openly chatting with women online. Before coming home each time, I deliberately sprayed on perfume, using it as a response to her accusations. She questioned me twice, and both times I brushed her off with excuses. Just friends chatting, what's the problem? Don't overthink it. Are you broke? Did you spend all your money on other women? She pressed on. My answer was even more direct. Are you crazy? This attitude only deepened her suspicions. As her accusations grew more intense, I simply stopped hiding it. That day, after I got home and cleaned up, I lounged comfortably on the sofa, playing on my phone. The sound of a WeChat notification immediately caught her attention. I deliberately turned up the volume. A woman's voice message followed, teasing, "You're always cracking jokes. When are you going to take me out for a drive in your car? I've been missing you." I replied right in front of her. "In a couple of days, for sure. Don't worry." I even chuckled after saying it. My wife hurled a throw pillow at me. "Jabota, are you even human? Our daughter is still so young, and you're fooling around? Do you even deserve to be her father? Why are you doing this to me?" Before she could finish, tears were already streaming down her face. I said, "She's just a friend. What's wrong with you?" I replied coldly, "You're home with nothing to do, letting your mind run wild. Can't you just take care of the kids properly?" Done talking, I couldn't be bothered with her. I got up angrily and walked toward the bedroom. She was left in the living room, tormented, laughing and crying uncontrollably, her emotions spiraling. Afterward, she called Itingching again. "Brother Deshang, I can't take it anymore. I want a divorce from him." Her voice was filled with despair. "Divorce? What about the kids? They shouldn't end up with Jabota, right? Then the children won't be mine anymore." Itingching seemed taken aback. "But I can't go on living like this. She doesn't care about the family or the kids at all. I feel like I'm going crazy." "In that case, just endure it for now," he said. "Wait until our child grows up. Then we can be together." A divorce right now is unwise. Chang pretended to understand, but inside he was scheming. I couldn't take it anymore. We can't live like this forever. Brother Shang, marry me. Let's reveal the truth and let the children know. She'll understand. Then I'll take the kids and leave, and we'll live peacefully as a family. Are you crazy? You said yourself that the kids have a future only with her. And when she inherits the family property, isn't that your plan? If you divorce now, you might get nothing. Chang said displeasantly. She calculated shrewdly and had no intention of taking on the burden of 3 families. She hoped that after Boda died, she could enjoy a comfortable life, so she had no desire to divorce her wife. But have you considered my feelings? I'd rather she hit me than drag this out. Her voice grew weaker. But the woman's voice on the other end of the phone stunned her. Who was Ting talking to? I've been waiting for you for so long. Coming, baby. Chang responded and hung up. His wife never expected that Chang had another woman by his side. Grief and anger overwhelmed her. She shouted, Chang, who are you with? Have you no shame toward me and the children? But the call had already been cut off, so I turned off my phone with satisfaction. I drifted into sleep, smiling as I looked forward to the next act. The next day, my wife went to Chang's place again. From the surveillance, I saw her leave carrying our daughter on her back. When she returned, her face was full of misery. I understood, the talk had probably fallen through. I turned to Dahai beside me and asked, so, have the loan sharks gone after Chang for the money yet? Dahai took a sip of coffee. I heard they went, but that slippery bastard hid like an eel. Tell them how to catch her. I glanced at him. Just follow my wife. Sure enough, a few days later, my wife went to see Chang again, but this time she went alone. She left the child at home alone. When she came back covered in bruises, I knew things had gone wrong. Dahai called immediately, found him. That bastard got beaten up and had a leg broken. But he still refused to pay. She even shoved Lu Rian out and said to use her to settle the debt. 3 million? She really has the nerve to ask for that much. I sneered. How could the debt collectors agree? Sure enough, they gave Chang a thorough beating and gave her 3 days to pay, or they'd break her arms and legs. Once they left, she viciously beat Lu Rian, suspecting she had deliberately led the collectors to her. No wonder Lu Rian was so badly hurt. What should we do next? I had a plan in mind. Don't worry, I have it under control. Bro, if you need help, just say the word. He hung up. I took leave to find my parents. I transferred the car and the property into their names, and moved the savings to their account under the guise of alimony. With that done, only the last step remained, file for divorce in court. I didn't want to file for divorce directly because I wouldn't get enough compensation. All those years of sacrifice. How could they be written off so easily? But I never expected Chang to run off and vanish without a trace. My wife couldn't reach her and was on the verge of collapse. For her sake, she deceived me? Now that my attitude had taken a sharp turn, and the loan sharks couldn't find Chang, they would definitely come after my wife. Then I would know her secret, and I would also know that those 2 children weren't mine. When that moment came, she and the kids would be doomed. She never dreamed that Chang would abandon her and disappear. Did she think she still had feelings for her? As for me, I breathed a huge sigh of relief. That evening, I came home from work. I confronted my wife directly, we're getting a divorce. I know everything. She froze. She denied it verbally, impossible. What nonsense are you talking? Come eat. I saw her forcing a smile. I reached out and slapped her. How long are you going to keep lying to me? She hurriedly knelt down, sobbing and shouting. Honey, I know I was wrong. Please don't divorce me. Now I only have you. Forgive me for the kids' sake. I heard nothing but lies, and the anger in me flared. I kicked her. I never hit women, but she didn't deserve my pity anymore. I treated you so well, and you betrayed me. And you dare mention the kids? I'm going to the hospital right now for a paternity test to see if they're mine. She immediately lunged and clung tightly to my leg. No, don't. I sneered, so it seems they're really not mine. My heart was filled with pain and rage. Lu Ruyan, I was blind. I've already filed the lawsuit. Just wait to pay the price. She screamed in despair. Don't divorce me. Jibo, I'm begging you, please, don't. I looked at her expression in that moment, my own feelings a tangled mess. If someone who didn't know the truth saw her, they would surely think she loved me deeply, but only I knew she was covering up some hidden secret. It wasn't until we were in court that I understood the whole story. On the day of the hearing, my wife saw. Trapped in the pouring rain, Edo City froze stiff as she stared at him in disbelief. Edo City, how could this be? The Edo City before her now was already wearing silver handcuffs, with 2 police officers flanking him, leaving her nowhere to hide. At the sight, his wife's legs gave out, and she nearly collapsed, but was helped to the defendant's seat. In court, my lawyer produced 2 paternity test reports and records from these past years of the funds my wife had given to Edo City, along with her living expenses and child support. Though the amounts weren't exhaustive, it was everything I could gather, and it was enough to seal the case. Back then, our family was draped in the glory of a wedding, to give my wife a dignified dowry. There was a bride price of 160,000 yuan, a wedding cost of 100,000 yuan, and 10 years of postmarital expenses. Are you insane? Where would I get that much money? I shot back, equally furious. Whether you have the money or not is between you and your adulterous pair. But this million is definitely what you owe me. She tried to plead with the judge for mercy, but the judge was unmoved, and the verdict came down soon after. I won the case. The 2 children were declared unrelated to me. My wife was ordered to compensate me for everything within 3 months. As for Edo City, burdened with a murder, he was already arrested by the police. 11 years ago, my wife Lu Ruyan was betrothed by her family to a young man from the village. But she was already deeply involved with Edo City from the neighboring village. As Lu Ruyan's wedding approached, Edo City, unwilling to let go, arranged for the 2 of them to meet with her fiancé, hoping to persuade him to call off the engagement. The fiancé refused, citing the bride price and gifts he had already given. Seeing Lu Ruyan and Edo City together, he flew into a rage and cursed her for being shameless. Edo City, young and hot-headed, had always been a troublemaker in the village. He soon got into a brawl with the fiancé, beating him mercilessly to death. The situation spiraled out of control. Lu Ruyan, terrified out of her wits, realized that if this came to light, her parents and the victim's family would never let her off. Though Edo City was a scoundrel, this was his first time killing someone. Driven by the fear of prison, he decided to flee. Lu Ruyan understood that staying alone in the village would be a death sentence, so she followed Edo City, hiding from place to place. During their escape, the internet was not yet widespread, allowing them to evade police pursuit. They eventually fled to Haicheng, settling in an abandoned building. Without identities or livelihoods, they survived by petty theft. It wasn't long before Edo City's attitude toward Lu Ruyan worsened. He often left her bruised and battered. Yet, bound by their shared plight, he never went so far as to kill her. When Lu Ruyan discovered she was pregnant, she wanted to keep the child, but Edo City refused, arguing they could barely feed themselves. The child would only be a burden. When Lu Ruyan insisted, Edo City tried to forcibly abort the baby. Lu Ruyan fled desperately, collapsing by the roadside. That was when I found her. The moment she woke up in the hospital, I noticed the concern I showed her, and she began to develop some fondness for me. Later, learning about my comfortable family background, when his character was also decent, he went back to discuss with Edo Ching and they began plotting against me. They set a trap. Within less than a month of knowing Lu Ruyan, they took advantage of my drunkenness. They arranged for Lu Ruyan and me to sleep in the same bed. I had never experienced anything like that before, so I naturally assumed we had already been intimate. From then on, I frequently paid attention to Lu Ruyan, gradually drawn in by her innocent and naive demeanor. I taught her basic life skills. I pitied her misfortune and felt deeply sorry for her, until one day she discovered she was pregnant. I immediately told my family I wanted to get married. My mother wasn't particularly fond of her at first, but eventually felt she wasn't unreasonable and agreed to our marriage. However, after the marriage, she kept funneling money to support Edo City, the 2 of them never truly cutting ties. Edo City also settled in this city, using the incomplete information systems of the time to take odd jobs with a fake ID. I clung to Lu Ruyan's life, and so, completely unaware, I kept supporting the 2 of them. After learning the truth, I was filled with gnashing hatred for the 2 of them. My mother wanted to immediately lay hands on Lu Ruyan. Unfortunately, as we left the courthouse, Edo City was taken away, and I had already contacted reporters. Before the cameras, I poured out my grievance, doting on my wife for 10 years, only to find out that neither of the 2 children were my own flesh and blood. When reporters cornered Lu Ruyan, she was so terrified she cried out and shrank back, trying to flee, though she also faced legal consequences. But she couldn't be imprisoned while she was still nursing. After putting on a pitiful show in front of the reporters, I went home and saw Lu Ruyan sitting on the sofa holding our daughter. I went up, dragged her up, and pushed her out, viciously yelling, "Take your two little bastards and get the hell out of here as far as you can. This is my home, and if I ever come back again, I'll take care of both of you little bastards." The daughter in her arms was so scared she started crying loudly. "Mom, it's so noisy. I'm not leaving. This is my home." Dad, are you abandoning me?" I roared sternly. "Shut up, I'm not your father. I never wanted a vile creature like you. You bully your classmates every day, stealing and causing trouble. You're exactly like your real father. No wonder I always thought you were disobedient. It turned out they were never my children." Saying that, I pushed her out the door and threw all their belongings out after her. The house instantly felt half empty. Lu Ruyan knelt at the door begging, while at the same time the son kicked her resentfully. "It's all your fault. You made Dad abandon us. This is all your fault. How could I have a mother like you? Go die." The wife looked at me in despair. "Gee Boda, for the sake of all these years as husband and wife, can you at least let me and the children stay here?" I replied coldly, "Don't put on a pity act for me. You're not my wife, and the children aren't mine. Get lost. Don't dirty my eyes." After saying that, I slammed the door shut. Although they were pitiful, I felt no mercy. I only wished she would disappear sooner. The whole world was buzzing with gossip. Everyone around me knew what had happened to me. I went to Teacher Zhao to apologize. I admitted I shouldn't have done that, but given the circumstances, I had no choice but to offend the school and the teacher. Teacher Zhao understood my situation. He only scolded me a little and told me to let it go. As for my relatives and colleagues, most of them expressed their sympathy. After Lu Ruyan and her 3 children left, I packed my things and returned to my parents. I planned to sell the house and buy a bigger one so I could take care of my parents in the future. So when Lu Ruyan came looking for me again, she found the house empty, with all the furniture gone. As the debt repayment deadline approached, she had nowhere to go with her 2 children. So she started to panic. She went to the loan shark who had previously caused trouble for Yitingqing and asked to borrow money. She even offered to pawn her 2 children to the loan shark. The loan shark thought, isn't this just giving her money and having to raise the kids? He still refused, but she cowed out and begged. In the end, he lent her 300,000 and kept the cheap son. Lu Ruyan took the money and left with her daughter. 3 months later, when I asked her for the money, I found out she had been arrested. As for the reason, it's a long story. After borrowing from the loan shark, Lu Ruyan planned to run away with her daughter. But she found the child too troublesome, so she thought of selling her. After all, she had already given up her son. She didn't care about the daughter either. Every day she wandered around the hospital entrance holding her daughter. Finally, a child trafficker approached her and offered to help sell the child, but demanded a cut. She agreed and sold her daughter to a childless couple for 200,000, getting 100,000 for herself. But before she could escape the city, the police stopped her. It turned out the trafficker had already been under police surveillance, and she was also being watched. The police sent her daughter to an orphanage. As for Lu Ruyan, she was sentenced to prison for multiple charges. At the same time, based on the clues, the police also dismantled the loan shark gang connected to her. As for the son she had abandoned, he was rescued by the police, covered in wounds, and also sent to an orphanage. Yet she secretly escaped. She stopped me outside our company building, grabbed me, and asked, "Dad, how can you abandon me? You are my real father. I don't want to go back to the orphanage. Let me come home. I'll be good and study hard." I casually took out 10 yuan from my pocket and handed it to her. "I'm not your father. You're the child of your mother and that bad man. Don't look for me anymore. If you want to hate someone, hate your mother and Yitingqing. Otherwise, we could have been a family, and you would have been Daddy's good son." After saying that, I ignored him, called the orphanage, and drove away. 5 years later, after I remarried and had a child, I went to the police station with my wife to register for a household registration. There I saw the child I had once called a bastard. She had grown a bit older but was still covered in scars. She was being stopped by a police officer. But she was nonchalant and grinning. I hit her to give her face. Who told her to compete with me for a woman? She deserved the beating. The police shook his head helplessly and asked, "How can you fight over such things at such a young age?" She retorted, "None of your business. You cops are such busybodies. I didn't bother getting involved." After finishing the paperwork, as I was about to leave, she recognized me. She struggled to get up from the chair, despite her wrists being cuffed, and still shouted, "Dad, Dad." Her eyes were red as she called out excitedly. This startled the police, and my wife looked at me in confusion. I explained with slight impatience. She's my ex-wife's child. My wife nodded in understanding. I turned to look at her, and she called out joyfully, Dad, I finally saw you. You don't know, I interrupted her, don't call me that. I stopped being your father a long time ago. Your father is in prison, I explained to the police. This child is from my ex-wife, now. Her parents are both in prison, one of the police muttered. I knew it. She's from the orphanage. Where would she get parents? Then another officer warned her. Behave yourself. If you hit anyone again, it won't just be a half-month detention. Then he took her away. Afterwards, I specially asked around. Since entering the orphanage, this child had always been fighting and causing trouble. Luckily, the orphanage director had some skills, or something serious would have happened long ago. She grew older and became even more arrogant. This month was already the third time she had been taken to the police station for fighting. At my parents' home. My parents called me to come back. I saw a gaunt, haggard woman. When she saw me, she was so excited that she blurted out the name Boda, but when she saw my wife behind me, 802, she froze instantly. It took her a while to recover, her expression complex, a mix of crying and laughing. 803, what do you want with my parents? Harass them, and I'll call the police. 804, I said curtly. Upon hearing this, she quickly wiped away her tears with her hand and lifted her head. Sorry, I didn't mean to. 805, I just wanted to ask if there's any news about Xiaoqing and Xiaotsue. I sneered upon hearing this. 806, now you think of the children? When you sold them back then, why didn't you think of today's situation? 807, she suddenly knelt on the ground. Boda, for the sake of our marriage, please tell me. 808, I really miss them. I want to see them. Looking at her, I said, saying that won't sit well with my wife. 809, but if you want to know the news, I can tell you. A glimmer of hope flashed in her eyes. I continued, 810, your son has been executed by firing squad. Your daughter is married and has a child. What? 811, she shook her head in disbelief. The truth is, Yiqing was indeed executed. She killed someone, Yi Tingqing. 812, after the divorce, she always hated Yi Tingqing, believing he destroyed our family. She visited him in prison many times. 813, Yi Tingqing visited her out of concern, but she ended up killing him. During her escape, she ran over 2 passers-by and was eventually executed. 814, as for Itsue, she was simple-minded. At 13, she was raped in the orphanage. 815, later, she was abducted by a migrant worker. The orphanage director said she recently gave birth to a child, but life hasn't been kind to her. 816, all of this was a blow to her. She wanted to see for herself, and it turned out exactly as I had said. 817, she tried to bring her daughter back but was beaten by Itsue's husband. Dejected, she returned to the city. 818, unable to bear such an outcome, she drowned herself that night. The police called me to handle the aftermath. 819, I directly refused, saying I had nothing to do with them long ago. In fact, when she went to prison and the 2 children were sent to the orphanage, 820, my revenge was already settled. Hearing of their final fates, I actually felt a hint of satisfaction. 821, this is precisely because of the saying, evil begets evil. Even if I didn't lift a hand, they still met their end. Sitting on the balcony rocking chair, I was lost in thought. 822, my wife came over and gently draped a blanket on me. It's getting cold, don't catch a chill. I nodded. 823, thank you, you're thoughtful. Hearing this, she smiled, took my hand, and nestled against my shoulder. 824, this kind of life is the one I've always dreamed of. And so, 825, the story ends. Thank you all. I was stunned. It took me a while to recover. My expression was complicated, like crying and laughing at the same time. It gave people the creeps. What are you doing with my parents? If you harass them, I'll call the police. As I opened my mouth to speak, she quickly wiped away her tears and lifted her head. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to ask if there's any news about Xiaoqing and Xiaotsue. I sneered upon hearing this. Now you remember the children? When you sold them off back then, why didn't you think of this day? 807, she suddenly knelt on the ground. Boda, for the sake of our marriage, please tell me. 808, I really miss them. I want to see them. I looked at her and said, my wife wouldn't like hearing me say that. 809, but if you want to know the news, I can tell you. A glimmer of hope flashed in her eyes. I continued. 810, your son has been executed by firing squad. Your daughter got married and even had a child. What? 811, she shook her head in disbelief. The truth is that Yiqing was indeed executed. She killed someone, that person was Ito-ching. 8:12 After the divorce, she always hated Ito-ching, believing he destroyed our family. She had visited him in prison many times. 8:13 Ito-ching went to see her out of concern, but she killed him instead. During her escape, she ran over two passers-by and was later executed by firing squad. 8:14 As for Itsue, she was already simple-minded. At 13, she was raped in the welfare home. 8:15 Later, she was abducted by a migrant worker. The welfare home director said she recently gave birth to a child, but her life isn't going well. 816 All of this was a blow to her. She wanted to see for herself, and found out it was exactly as I said. 8:17 She wanted to bring her daughter back, but Itsue's husband beat her up. She returned to the city in a daze. 8:18 Unable to bear such an outcome, she drowned herself in the river that night. The police called me to handle the aftermath. 819 I flatly refused, saying I had nothing to do with them anymore. Actually, when she went to prison and the two children went to the welfare home, 820 my revenge was already settled. When I heard about their final fates, I felt a hint of satisfaction. 821 It was precisely because of the saying evil begets evil, that even though I didn't lift a hand, they still ended up dead. I sat on the balcony rocking chair, lost in thought. 822 My wife came over and gently covered me with a blanket. It's getting cold, don't catch a chill. I nodded. 823 Thank you. Sorry for the trouble. She smiled upon hearing this, took my hand, and leaned against my shoulder. 824 Days like this are the life I've always dreamed of. And with that, 825 The story has come to an end. Thank you all for your— She suddenly knelt on the ground. Jiboda, for the sake of our marriage, please tell me. I really miss them. I want to see them. I looked at her and said, my wife wouldn't like hearing me say that. But if you want to know the news, I can tell you. A glimmer of hope flashed in her eyes. I continued. Your son has been executed by firing squad. Your daughter got married and even had a child. What? She shook her head in disbelief. The truth is that I-ching was indeed executed. She killed someone, that person was Ito-ching. After the divorce, she always hated Ito-ching, believing he destroyed our family. She had visited him in prison many times. Ito-ching went to see her out of concern, but she killed him instead. During her escape, she ran over two passers-by and was later executed by firing squad. As for Itsue, she was already simple-minded. At 13, she was raped in the welfare home. Later, she was abducted by a migrant worker. The welfare home director said she recently gave birth to a child, but her life isn't going well. All of this was a blow to her. She wanted to see for herself, and found out it was exactly as I said. She wanted to bring her daughter back, but Itsue's husband beat her up. She returned to the city in a daze. Unable to bear such an outcome, she drowned herself in the river that night. The police called me to handle the aftermath. I flatly refused, saying I had nothing to do with them anymore. Actually, when she went to prison and the two children went to the welfare home, my revenge was already settled. When I heard about their final fates, I felt a hint of satisfaction. It was precisely because of the saying evil begets evil, that even though I didn't lift a hand, they still ended up dead. I sat on the balcony rocking chair, lost in thought. My wife came over and gently covered me with a blanket. It's getting cold, don't catch a chill. I nodded. Thank you. Sorry for the trouble. She smiled upon hearing this, took my hand, and leaned against my shoulder. Days like this are the life I've always dreamed of. And with that, the full text has ended. Thank you all for your likes and follows.